Hello students, this is OrganiChemVerse YouTube channel. In this series of videos, I solve some of the interesting and important questions for competitive exams like NEET and JEE Advanced and Mains. Let's get started with the given question. What is the absolute stereochemistry of the given compound? That means there are two chiral carbons at 4th and 8th carbon, and we are supposed to find out what is the configuration, whether it is R or S configuration. Students, before you start solving this example, you should know the CIP rules, Cahn, Ingold, Prelog rules by the IUPAC nomenclature, how to give the R and S configuration for the given molecule. Just to make it clear, let me briefly explain the rules. Whenever you have a chiral carbon, give the priority to the groups based on the atomic mass, right? So once you give the priority, always observe for 1, 2, 3. If it goes in the clockwise, then we call it R, otherwise we call it as S. But what is the important rule for the fourth priority group? If the fourth priority group is in the vertical, it remains as it is. R remains R, S remains S. If the fourth priority group is in the horizontal position, R becomes S, S becomes the R. But that is for the two-dimensional structures. But what if the molecule is three-dimensional structure like this? In that case, you give the priority based on the atomic mass. There is no difference, okay? But if the fourth priority group is below the plane, right? If it is below the plane, R remains R, S remains S. If the fourth priority group is above the plane, then R becomes S, S becomes R, right? So if you still don't understand, please read the rules and then you can start solving this example. Now let's get back to this. First, let's solve for the fourth chiral carbon. What are the groups present? If you are practicing these examples for the first time, or if you have just started solving such examples, I recommend you to write down the groups it is attached to. What it means. Say if this is the chiral carbon, right? So since it's a cyclic, right, and it is fused together, so here what's happening, all the three groups, they are showing it in the plane, right? So no problem, you can write OH, right, here below the plane. What about here? We have carbon, carbon. Here also carbon and carbon, but there is a double bond here. Now what about here? Still we have a carbon, which in turn attached to oxygen, okay, unlike here which is attached to a carbon, right? So now let's give the priority. Oxygen, carbon, carbon, carbon. Oxygen should get the higher priority. Now carbon, 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 it get cancelled. Now look at this. Obviously this oxygen will get the second priority. A triple bond will get the next priority, and this is the fourth. Now as I was telling earlier, the fourth priority group below the plane means R remains R, S remains S. But here look at this. The first priority group is below the plane. That means once you do the configuration, you have to reverse it, okay? So what happens now? 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 1 again. So how is it going? It is going as R. Therefore, it should reverse. That means what? For 4A, the configuration is S. But you have such two options, so you can eliminate A and B. In these scenarios, usually there will be only like usually you will have two options, so again you have to choose from those two to get the right answer, okay? So now let's check for the 8th carbon. Now look at this carbon. This carbon is attached to carbon double bond oxygen. Double bond oxygen means it is twice attached to the oxygen and then there is a hydrogen. Now look at this carbon, right? Twice attached to oxygen and then the third one is carbon. Now look at this, it is attached to CH2, right? What about here? A carbon attached to oxygen, carbon and carbon, right? So you can write like this. Now compare them, two oxygen, and there is only one oxygen, but this one is in turn attached to carbon, so which should get priority? This one. So that means what? If I check here, ketone gets the higher priority. After that, the aldehyde carbon. After that, this carbon, and this is CH2. That's why last. Now move from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, again 1. What is it going? It's going S direction. But look at this. This is again below the plane. So one of the priority groups is below the plane means what? You have to reverse this. How? To R. Therefore, the 8th one, it is R. Right? Therefore, the right option is option D. If you don't understand, you can reverse the molecule and still you can do the R and S configuration, but that's a little bit complicated. This is the best way to do the R and S configuration for the three-dimensional molecules. I hope you have understood this, and if you have come across any interesting stereochemistry question, you can always post them and we can discuss on the question. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time.